Hello. Hello, everyone. Can you guys hear me? Hello? Testing, testing. Right, awesome. Okay, let's get started then. Um, yeah, sorry about that. There was some technical delays. My VPN wasn't working, and uh, the solutions I had for today's exercise were on JHub. But let's go ahead and get started. So yeah, this was the URL that you're supposed to go to. So if you can just go to that right now and then click on matplotlib basic. So we'll be doing questions 1, 2, 4, 11, and 14. Okay, so this tutorial is going to be similar to the coding bat like coding bat tutorials we did, like those tutorials where we, as a class, attempted coding bat questions. So this tutorial is going to be similar to that. Um, so yeah, this tutorial will be about visualizing data and plotting graphs. So having said that, let's go ahead and let's attempt question one. Let's see how many. Looks like there's like two viewers um, in the live stream. So I guess I'll give you guys maybe like 5 minutes to like read and attempt this question. Um, and like to um, I mean, if you to get the if you want any help with how to code this, you can just open up your um, which lecture was it? I believe this one. Yeah, topic 12, visualization. So this has a lot of the just functions and things you'll need for today's tutorial. So oh, I guess if just to start off, let's go ahead and I'll just list some of the imports we'll need for today's tutorial. So let's go ahead and import matplotlib.pyplot. So this will do a lot of the plotting of our graphs. And then we'll also be working with some dates. We'll need the math library, the CSV library, we might also need the NumPy library, and then finally just another date time library. Also, we'll be using this function here, um, frange function, which you can just copy and paste from the lecture slides. Just fix up the formatting. Okay, there we go. Oh, what did I do? Oops. So yeah, these are just some things you'll need. So yeah, go ahead and try to plot this graph here in question one. And if if you're done or close to being done, just type it in the live chat, and then I'll go over the solution. Okay, let's go ahead and take up the first question. Uh, this one should have been straightforward if you looked at the similar examples in the slides. So let's see. So this graph, it looks like it's going from 0 to 50 on the x-axis. So we'll just go ahead and um, use our range function to create values for x-axis from 0 to 50, where the step in our range function by default is 1. Um, and then for our y values, we can just simply go ahead and iterate over um, the values in our x values list, and just do some manipulation of those values. So value times 3 for each value in x values, and it'll just generate a list of y values which multiply their respective x values by 3. So far just some basic Python range and list functions. Um, so now let's go ahead and start plotting. So it's pretty straightforward. You can just go ahead and pass both lists um, to PyPlot, and yeah, it should just do that for you. Um, Now, however, um, if you want to add um, some labels like the title and like labels for the x and y axis, you can do so as follows. Oh, and finally, you also need to type this. So yeah, that gets rid of that weird message that we just saw here up here earlier. So yeah, the plot function just uh, takes your values and plots them on this behind the scenes graph object, and show actually just displays it to your screen. So let's see, do we have any questions right now? Nope. Okay. So we'll go ahead and continue. So now let's go ahead and attempt question 2. So this one looks like they're trying to make sort of a triangular shape with their graph. So it's like a very um, linear, like this graph looks like it's increasing for x values from 1 to 2, then it starts decreasing from 2 to 3. Um, and here we're also dealing with floats um, instead of our usual um, integers. but we don't have to use integers depending on how you plot this. So it's up to you. Okay, let's go ahead and take up this solution, or take up this question, sorry. So, okay, so this, like plotting this graph here, it might look tricky, but we can just simply go ahead and do this. We can just manually specify the x and y values. And plot them. Let's just get a peek preview of what that looks like. Okay, looks similar to what we have in the question. So let's just go ahead and clean that up by just adding some nice titles and labels. And yeah, finally pyplot.show. And yeah, there you have it, the solution to question 2. Let's see if there are any questions from you guys in the live chat. Um, looks like we're all good. Um, but yeah, just don't hesitate to ask if anything is not clear. And also let me know if my audio is getting cut off or anything like that, or if you can't hear me properly. Okay, so next question we'll do number 4. So in this case, for this, we're actually doing a reading from a CSV file, and the CSV file has like these four um, types of values: so open, high, low, and close. So we want to plot each of those values separately and generate like these four lines in our graph. So let's I'll give you guys some time to attempt that, and we'll go over the solution in probably about 5 minutes. So the code to help you guys with that question, it's in the lecture slides. So in the lecture slides, they cover um, how to plot multiple lines in a graph. So let's go. I can show that to you guys real quick. So yeah, plotting multiple data sets. So you can use this code here to help you get started. And other than that, here's some code regarding how to read in CSV files, how to read in CSV files with a header, which in this case we do have a header, so uh, this might be useful to you. All right, let's start taking up this question. So, in order to, um, you know, um, get started, you should have actually created a CSV file, and like with this, you should have just copied all this data into a CSV file. Um, so I mean, I guess I can just show you guys how to do that quickly. So just open up any text editor. um, copy and paste and store it in the same um, directory as your Python notebook. Um, so you can just go ahead and replace that, and yeah, there you have it, your CSV. And you can just refresh here to make sure it's there. Yep, last modified seconds ago. So we have our data. Now we just need to process that data. So let's go ahead and get started. So we need to open our CSV file in read mode. And just like our slides told us, if there's a header row, we can use CSV dict reader instead of just using CSV, the regular CSV.reader. So let's go ahead and use that. So that just takes each row and turns it into like a nice dictionary like key value pair. So let's use dict reader, and yeah, let's just go ahead and create, this will be our x values, the dates will be our x values, these will be um, all our other various data sets that we want to plot. So all the open values, low, close, and so then we can just iterate over each row and append each value in the row to its corresponding list. So append the date value on each row to the dates list, and likewise do that for all the other values. Oh yeah, also by default all the values are read in as strings, so however we know from looking at our CSV that other than the date, everything else is a float, so we'll go ahead and just convert, um, cast cast all the other values to floats. Okay, and then we'll just do that for all the other values. So looks good so far. Now let's go ahead and plot this. So as they show here, a way to plot different data sets is you can just specify the first pair of x and y values, and then follow that by a empty string, and then the next pair of x and y values. So let's go ahead and put in our first pair of x and y values. So that'll be the open values for each date, followed by the high values for each date, followed by the low values for each date, followed by the close values of each date. Let's run that to see what it looks like. Okay, looks pretty good so far. Yeah, and then just hiplot.show. And yeah, there you have it. Plotting, reading in a CSV file and plotting multiple data sets. So yeah, it was just very similar to the code that we saw here. Where was it? Yeah, this one. Yeah. Okay, so next question we'll attempt is question number 11. Yeah, so now we'll attempt question number 11. So yeah, let's go ahead and take up this question. So as the question says, you can do this in one line, or sorry, plot this in one line. So let's go ahead and do that. So we have our x values, which in this case, so we have our x values which go from 0 to 5. Um, and it looks like from 0 to 1 there are 5 plot points. So we will, for this actually we'll use the NumPy arange function to generate our list. So similar to the frange function we defined earlier. So from 0 to 5, and the step is 0.2. We can then go ahead and plot this all in one line. So x, right, so the first one, the first dashed line here, that's simply just like a linear function. So both the x and y values for that line will be the same. Then actually, yeah, like just like how earlier I mentioned, you should have this empty string here, so you can actually use that empty string, um, actually specify some information to PyPlot regarding how to draw your line. Um, so if we want green dashes, we can just type in G and then 2 dashes. And so now, actually, if we run this, we should be able to see, yeah, so we have our first graph, um, and then we can just go ahead and plot our other lines, so our other curves. So this one will be t and t raised to the power of 2. This one will plot as blue square, so you can type that as BS. And finally, actually, yeah, let's just see what this looks like first. Oh, not bad. So yeah, we have our second curve. Now we will plot the final curve, which is x and x raised to the power of 3. So the y values are simply just the x values raised to the power of 3, and we will plot that using red triangles. And again, you can do pyplot.show to clean this up. And yeah, there you have it. The solution to question 11. Any questions about any of the code so far? Feel free to type it in the chat. And I mean, you guys can feel free to leave because the tutorial is supposed to go up to 12:20, but because we started late because of some technical difficulties, um, I mean, like I'll stay here um, and answer like any more questions or any questions that you guys might have. So yeah, feel free again to just post in the chat. So yeah. So it looks like only 2 people are here right now. I guess or one. I guess yeah, everyone will just watch this on their own time. So um, yeah, fair enough. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, you can also email me or post on Piazza. So yeah, thank you guys for joining this live stream. And I guess just as a bonus, I'll just take up the solution to one more question. You don't have to stay for that if you need to. Um, if you need to, go and attend um, the lecture live stream or anything like that. I guess um, if you're most people listening to this are probably watching this, later once this has been uploaded. So I'll just go ahead and take up the solution to one more question, just because we started a little bit late and I don't want to cut off this tutorial, I guess, early, quote unquote. So let's go ahead and attempt this question. Right, so this is similar to a question we did earlier where we read in values from a CSV file. However, here um, we will only deal with the closing values from that CSV file. So, I mean, you could go ahead and read that CSV again and just store those and just use those closing values. But here we'll just do it a different way. We'll just manually specify the values ourselves. So uh, we can just specify the dates. So let's go back to that data. So we have um, 10/03/16 and then we have the value, the closing value. Let's turn these into tuples. Okay, also if you have a um, so some plotting functions they require require the date to be a very specific type or format. So in this case, we'll actually convert this into a datetime object. So we're going to be using this function here, the datetime.stripTime, um, and we also need to then specify the date format because, as you know, there are various date formats. So this one is date, month, year. And yeah, we just need to do that for all the other ones. Oh, there's some invalid syntax here. Okay, looks good. So there we have our data, and we'll just read in that data into um, our x and y value lists. So for this date value tuple in data, convert the uh, date into an object that is more friendly for our matplotlib library using date to num. And yeah, just use the y value from the tuple also. So next we just need to create a figure. After that we need to create a subplot. So the 111 here just means the number of rows, the number of columns, uh, and the number of index, and the index number. So yeah, each digit, so the first digit is number of rows, second digit is number of columns, and then the last digit is the index. So now let's go ahead and plot this as, um, plot this using red circles. Okay, so our graph is starting to come together. Um, oh yeah, and you can also uh, give you can actually specify like the value of each ticks by giving a list of values to the set ticks function. You can also define the labels of each tick. So yeah, earlier we converted each of those dates to numbers. So now we're just converting them back to like a nice readable format. yeah, just some more cleaning up. Just label the x-axis, label the y-axis. So yeah, here we just gave it a title, and now um, we're just turning on some minor ticks which are required for our minor grid. So now we'll go ahead and customize our major and minor grid. We can specify what type of grid it is, the line style, um, the line width, color, and we'll do the same thing for minor graph, minor grid. And yeah, it looks like it's coming along very nicely. So just setting some more properties. Um, so the which is yeah. So those are just that just means these options are for both major and minor ticks because we said both, and then um, yeah, the top, left, right, and bottom. So that's just to turn off the top ticks, left ticks, right ticks, and bottom ticks respectively. And then finally, we can go ahead and do pyplot.show, and yeah, voila, we have our closing stock value of Alphabet Inc. Plotted. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this live stream. Um, I guess many of you will be watching this on your own time, so it's also great. Yeah, best of luck, on all your assignments and any tests and upcoming final exams. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week.